welcome again to Postcard and to Mr. Leigh G. Banks, who's in a better mood today, I've got to say. He's shaking his head and he's nodding now. Well, he's in the usual confused state. Welcome, Leigh.
How do you do? Yeah, I'm just tired. Look at my eyes. Look at those tired eyes. Just been so busy doing that journalism lark and things like that. I was up till 4 o'clock this morning working, and now I'm here with you. That's dedication.
Well, that is it. Well, you're not always going to bed at 4 o'clock in the morning. You've got to get some discipline in your life.
Ooh.
Right, I'm going to start with some discipline actually today.
Because
we all know the phrase, of course, Black Lives Matter. And most of the footballers are still bending the knee. And we always say, of course, Black Lives Matter. But we daren't say, according to various people in California, there was a banner put out there last week saying White Lives Matter. Disgraceful, said various mayors in California, saying it was incitement just as bad as Donald with Capitol Hill. And they made them take them all down.
Go and shoot the mayors.
Yeah, well, he's obviously tired. I usually get a big diatribe off him, but he's come straight to the point. Go and shoot. Well, listen, the mayor thing is important because we got mayors with powers. And of course, we can't forget Andy Burnham of Manchester delaying everything with various things for at least a week. How many people did he get rid of because of the virus in Manchester for that whole week? And we have to sort of draw the line somewhere. There's too much shedding of power, perhaps, whether it be Scotland or Wales or Northern Ireland or mayors. It seems to be causing confusion, Leigh.
Well, he said, going back to the mayors in California, to take action against flags or banners or whatever, saying that White Lives Matter too, is just inverted racism. It's a move that's incendiary. It's designed to cause trouble and cause unrest. They really should be taken to task for it. For no other reason than that it is yet another. It's inverted incitement, and they really should be taken to task. There's no reason for it. Black Lives Matter is a perfectly legitimate claim. I'm not talking about the organisation, which can be considered not to be legitimate in many ways because of stuff that we've at the Leigh G. Banks Preservation Society published on it, and many other media organs have published too. But the statement, Black Lives Matter, is right. And nobody said that white lives don't matter. By saying Black Lives Matter doesn't mean we say white lives don't matter. That is just abusive, stupid, outrageous, and completely lacking any kind of integrity at all to do that kind of thing. There's your diatribe.
We're going to mention social media because that seems flavour of the week, the month, the year, and lots more to come on that. And interestingly, there is more breaking news from Australia in that they've invited members from Facebook and Google to appear before a committee before they decide to jump on them and perhaps make laws again, because they've got too powerful. They've become the most powerful duopoly in the world. And of course, there's problems because they're putting news out. Now, we've got to say that if you go to Google, they urge you to take their news. And if you go to there, it's practically clickbait. It is truly awful. It is not news. It just wants you to tune in and they can register that you're a viewer and they can get some more money from sundry parties. They're being required by various governments to actually pay for this news and give it to some of the newspapers, perhaps. But they're kicking off, of course. And they've actually threatened to have Google and Facebook, Australia, saying, look, if you start this game, we're going to take down Google search engines, browsers. That means, of course, they may well take down lots of other peripheries, even Gmail. Now, that's going to cost a lot of people a lot of time, trouble, and effort. Now, that is naughty. That is called, Leigh, blackmail.
Well, it could also be called fighting fire with fire, because certainly the power that social media has is quite incredible. And I've had a bee in my bonnet quite seriously for a long time about the fact that Google in particular, Facebook to a lesser extent, and Twitter in the same ballpark, seem to think it's all right to steal other people's work. We have an ongoing situation here on a personal basis of people stealing copyright, and there are 15 writers involved, and we're going to we'll just, it's being sorted out. But Google, quite by no reason at all, and just decided they'll steal all newspaper headlines. YouTube put all news on YouTube. It's supposed to benefit us. It's supposed to benefit the news agency to give you a wider audience. But we don't really need that audience. Yeah, we as a news industry, so taking in all sorts of broadcasting, internet sites, etc., and printed work, television, cable television, the entertainment industry generally. We are a close contender with major internet companies and we have the veracity, we have the truth. We don't steal, we don't lie, we don't borrow to make the point. So really, I think Australia is right to say, look, pay the man for the work he's done. I don't use his work, which it boils down to. I don't think they're blackmailing them. I don't actually see why the government's involved in that, though, in Australia. We're quite capable of doing it ourselves.
Well, this is an important point. How much should governments really be involved? Because governments, of course, make laws. And my contention has always been, we've got enough blooming laws. We don't need laws. We want change of hearts and minds and people to get on with people. But nothing happens. We have laws. Now, I'll come back to you because Leigh G. Banks, believe it or not, everybody, has spent a lot of time in this last fortnight rewriting the 10 Commandments. He's only got 8, so it's a bit of short shrift, actually. But if you can picture him waddling down the mountain with these 2 pieces of heavy stone, tripping up as he nears the bottom, and it's shattering everywhere. And then he picks them up and decides to, well, he's put out about 3 different versions. And I'm going to put him on the spot now and say, this is the answer, according to Leigh G. Banks, to our problems. And I'll read the first one, which says, don't lie about people to do them harm. So that's your first commandment, mate. Don't lie about people to do them harm.
That's actually part of the Constitution of America. That's the 14th Amendment. 14th what of the amendment? Yeah, really, honestly, yeah. If I have to be seen as this great mountainous soothsayer of truth and kindness, yeah, that's fine. Don't lie about people to do them harm.
No, I think most people would agree with that. Maybe commandment number 2, don't say things which could damage people and countries. And my first thought, of course, is what? Do we keep quiet about, for example, China?
No, that isn't what it means. That absolutely isn't
what
well,
it means. You better explain.
Well, it's just very simple. We're talking about freedom of speech and the fact that people don't think we've got freedom of speech in this country, in this world, actually, because they can't say what they want to say. And that is the very basics of freedom of speech. There are certain areas you can't go into. Now, if you, to say factually, to add into the lack of facts about China, to say it is believed that this virus came out of China, that people are investigating this virus coming out of China, is a totally different thing than saying the China virus. That's a totally different thing. There is nothing that you can actually say there. If you believe the person who said it, then he's saying it's definitely a fact. And if you have the authority and the power and the command over millions and millions of people, and you say it's the China virus, then it's just not true. It just isn't true.
Leigh, you've been a red top man all your life. That is a red top headline. China virus.
No, it will be used in headlines, but you will always find that if it's used in headlines, until there's nobody's saying it isn't the China virus, that was the one that was picked on. But you'll find that the words China virus will be used in quotes, which means very simply that it isn't proven. We're now being accused of the English virus. The English virus, the virus that's appeared in Britain first. It's not the English virus. It's a virus that was brought in from somewhere else. I think that's wrong. It's become a joke. The whole of the fact of freedom of speech, which we go on quite a lot, and it's unequivocal. You know, the freedom of speech says, say what you want to say. Say it in as harsher terms as you want to say it. Say it in as jokey terms as you want to say it. Say it in as loud terms as you want to say it. But stay within the law of protecting other people. Freedom of speech is there to protect people as well as get a point across. And it's not there to allow incitement. It's not there to allow racism. It's not there to allow lies to be told to as propaganda. Look what's happening in Russia today as we speak. Look what's happening in Russia. One man had an opinion. It was a real opinion. He went across the world. He left his home to express his opinion. And then he chose to go back to Russia, and the Russian propaganda against him created riots. 24,000 people arrested. And that is where freedom of speech is stopped. I live in a country where there was no freedom of speech for a decade. For more than half a century.
It's interesting that, because it puts Capitol Hill fracas in its place, if you think about it by comparison. And yet it will pass very quickly, almost unheard of. We won't go there at the moment.
No, it doesn't. They're not comparable. This was a peaceful. These were peaceful protests, more or less peaceful anyway. They're never completely peaceful, on the streets in Russia, and people were arrested for their right to make a protest. Nobody in the right mind can say that Capitol Hill was a peaceful protest. It wasn't.
Well, that phrase is equally as outrageous as the insurrection bringing an end to civilization that is still being said about Capitol Hill. And more that comes out about Capitol Hill. No, they're actually getting to grips with who was behind that. And the average Joe that was there was not doing anything apart from protesting, being stupid and being misled. We're not defending what they did at all, but it was, as usual, a tidy, mouthy minority that gets everybody else a bad name.
How many's in that minority?
I can tell you, it's been estimated at less than 10%.
And how many people were there?
Well, we have different stories about that, but they weren't 24,000 or anywhere near it.
Go on. No, honestly, you're quoting 10%, right? So give us a figure that we can say that's 10% of it.
No, well, I was quoting 10% because nobody knows the true total of how many people were there because a lot of people stayed outside. So percentages are more accurate in that sense. But we must move on, Leigh. Your third commandment is important. Don't defend evil.
Yeah, don't defend evil. What's wrong with that? Don't defend evil. Do not defend Aleister Crowley. Do not defend the devil. Do not defend evil politicians. Do not defend Hitler. Do not defend all the people who bring evil to this world.
Well, that's right, but I mean, it depends on who is or what is evil. Some people's idea about evil might not be your idea about evil. So how do we quantify who is evil and who is not?
Ask God.
Well, yes, well, that's a good idea. How do we ask God? Come on, be specific.
Yeah, well, the evil is things that damage other people. With war is evil. War is evil. Let's face it. War is evil. It's sometimes an evil which has to be entered into. It's what else is evil? Child molestation is evil. The abuse of family members is evil. The abuse of people in a country is evil. To be a lying, cheating politician is evil. To be somebody who creates situations that are incendiary is evil. To do things that damage the fabric of society is evil, unless you do it in a way which expresses why you feel that the fabric of society should be taken down and rebuilt. To do it with just a swoop of black cloak and pointy horns on your head, that's evil.
Number 4, he quickly goes on to more evil. Don't incite violence and war. We can connect that with what you just said.
Yeah.
And people will agree with that. We're going on to number 5. Don't do what Assange did. You don't like Trump and Assange in equal measures. What did he do, Leigh? He's supposed to be a reporter. You will deny that.
No,
I probably will deny it as well.
He is not in any way, shape or form. There's the first evil that men do, to claim that they are things that they aren't. Julian Assange has never been a journalist. He's a member of some journalistic union in Australia, which I don't actually know of it. He's written a couple of books. He's edited a couple of books, but he isn't a journalist. Absolutely not. The reason it is absolute fact to complain to say that he has no journalistic boarding at all is very simply this: that Wikipedia and WikiLeaks are not journalistic foundations. They have no control. They have no editorial control at all on them. And
are they truly? Are they true? Actually,
if you have no control, how do you know? If you have no control, no editorial control, if you have nobody fact checking, if you have nobody doing anything which validates what is being stated there, how do you know if it's true? Could be true, could be a lie. That's the problem. There's the problem.
Yes, but there is another problem, Leigh, in all this. Basically, if your editor is of one side or another, he can say you're not publishing that.
Well, if an editor refuses to publish something that you've written, then you move on and find another editor who will publish it. That's the freedom of the press. And no matter how many times it's argued against, that's the way it goes. I, for instance, have had a piece turned down last week, I think it was, because the political complexion of the piece I'd written didn't fit in with the political complexion of the venue I went to. So fair enough, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, there are things, I get people approaching me all the time asking me to publish their stories on the Preservation Society. I have every right to say no. It's my publication. I have every right to refuse to publish something I don't respect or think is true or don't really like or don't think it's entertaining or think it's badly written. I don't care. I say no. But you can always take it somewhere else. That's the way the world works.
Well, as long as there's an option, yes. Number six, yes. Don't incite racism. We've covered that a little bit.
We've covered that loads. Why? Why incite racism? Why do you want to do it? What is the reason to incite racism?
Well, I mean, it's built in a lot of countries, Leigh. The racism in America is very distinct from the racism in Britain, in various European countries, because it goes back a long way with America, especially with the slaves and the North and the South.
Glad they got over it.
Well, yes, but I mean, is it true, or are people that are particularly eloquent, other people might say gobby, get in the way as activists and really have a go when they really haven't got a shout? And there are more and more people in America that are black and that are coming out and saying it, not so eloquently as what I've just said, but they are building up a case for, come on, you can get to President Obama. You've got opportunities as a black person to do what you like. Now, it's not as simple as that, I know, because there are in the ghettos a great deal of difficulty of getting out of the ghettos, but you still have an opportunity. If the opportunity was denied you, wow, that is utterly wrong. But if the opportunity isn't, maybe your argument is not as strong as you're pretending it to be.
Well, if you say to now, let's put it dead simply. People say that you have an opportunity. Now that's black and white. That's fine. Oh, brilliant! We have an opportunity. It's equal opportunity. A black person can go for that job, and a white person can go for that job. So let's see who gets it. It's fair. It's equitable. There is nothing wrong with it. But then, because of the stratas of society, because of the stratas of the human mind, because of the stratas of strange ways of thinking, people might say, I don't like black people, so I'll give it to the white man. So the equal opportunity is supposedly there. It's the stratas of the opportunity and how far reaching there are. I personally, I genuinely say, and I've stood up and said this 1,000, 100,000 times, I do not disrespect, disregard, or insult anybody because of the country they were born in. I disrespect anybody in the human race who is evil, twisted, bent, criminal, or perverted. It doesn't matter what colour or creed they are. I respect humanity. I respect all colours and all complexions of humanity. We all have the inalienable right to be respected in that way. That's what that means.
Yes, and a little intervention, a little story here. I watch a lot of American television, actually, as well as British television. And it's been said for a number of years now, watch the adverts if you want to look at the society that you're getting into, because the advertising reveals what you're interested in as a person, as a nation. Now, we've said a lot of times, if you look at the diversity culture, let's call it, because that's what it's become, in the UK, you get adverts that are fascinating. We've cited things like the BA advert. Everybody's on that plane from a particular group, whether it be LGBT, black, BAME, disabled, whatever it is, it's on that aeroplane and it's ludicrous. Now, you go to America, and let's concentrate on the racism thing, black and white if you wish, and you're watching the same thing in America. You've not got that. You've got a representative of American society. You haven't in British advertising, because if you look quite often, if you wish, and this is not a racist statement, it's just fact, not with every advertising, but they've got to include the inclusive groups, and it is not what society is. In America, and the advertising, they don't bother. You think, oh, well, that's a normal family, that's a normal black, white proportion, if you wish. And this is advertising, of course. At the bottom of advertising is the dollar, so you can be blooming sure it's the truth. We're too woke in Europe, especially in Britain. Let's have in our advertising, in our programs, the truth. Leigh,
look at the eyes.
eyeballs coming open. Go on.
Oh, I'm sorry, I've not my camera. I do this once a week. I just not my camera. First of all, let's take advertising. Is advertising the truth? Is advertising supposed to be the kitchen sink drama of the commercial world? Is there supposed to be any truth in there? Is the Christmas advertising not just fantasy? Is not advertising there to paint a better world for a product? Where is the truth in advertising? Where is the demand for truth in advertising? I don't mean in advertising the product and giving the truth about the product itself, but the fantasy world of the advert. You see, I've been in advertising as well. People don't realise this. There isn't a job in the media that I haven't done. The simple fact is that advertising is a fantasy. Advertised presentation is a fantasy woven around a product to give it its best view. And if an advertiser wants to paint a world and make it sing by showing all different views of society and of the different people who live in the society, and he wants to persuade all those different groups to think this product's a good product, we need to buy it, it represents us as much as it represents anybody else, good on them. And if in America, I don't know what the standards of advertising are in America. That's one place I've never worked. I've only worked on the National Enquirer in America. Oh, shock horror, the National Enquirer. Yeah, that's where I worked, so I wasn't really involved with advertising there. I don't know what the advertising standards are, but if they don't want to paint a world that sings, I'd like to teach the world to sing. And yet Coca-Cola does do that. It uses people from all walks of society. Coca-Cola, the land of Coca-Cola.
Well, the advertising authority has more teeth in America, and they would not really step outside the family thing. And in one sense, that's true of Britain as another example. But we get away with a lot of things in Britain that they wouldn't do in America. Whether that's freedom of speech, I don't know. But when we're thinking,
what do we get away with? What do we get away with? Like, let's analyse that. What do we actually get away with?
Sexual content that's quite overt in a lot of cases would not be allowed on
in advertising,
television. Yeah,
advertising. Yeah, you're thinking of the Cadbury's flake advertising lady. You know, which isn't classed as pornography, it's classed as eroticism. And why do we need to denude our lives of eroticism in advertising? Eroticism's always been there. Think of the people who really pushed the boat out in advertising and showed the slaughter of animals and got away with it by saying that it was there to express the desire of the world to end the cycle, which it certainly wasn't. Eroticism in advertising has always been there, like humour. Eroticism is part of our lives. Yeah, well, America is a bit prudish unless you watch its films. And let's face it, most of the pornography comes from America, hidden behind closed doors. Naughty America.
Yeah, there's a lot of it going on, which leads us on to number 7, of course, is that don't publish damaging pornography. Well, we've covered that. We agree with that. It is really damaging. And as more and more scientific evidence emerges, we've got to get a grip with it. May think, oh, it's all right. You know, it isn't. It's been proved. Anyway, we'll move on to 8 rather. Don't encourage hatred. Now, that, if you like, encompasses the whole lot. in my humble opinion. Leigh, think you would agree with that?
Absolutely.
Well, come on then. How do you
I
cure
think that in my
hatred?
American preacher voice.
How do we cure hatred? That is the key thing.
Hatred.
You can't cure hatred by introducing laws. Now, if you are tempted,
illegal.
well, true, but if you're tempted to cure it, it won't happen. In my view, too many laws. Who publish the laws? Who get the laws together? Well, of course, we all know the lawyers. I don't want to improve the lawyers' lot. Quite the reverse. I think they've got a lot of lawyers and a lot of lot. But we've got to go and say, you can't, as I've said at the beginning, we've said numerous times, you can't change hearts and minds this way. Is it therefore time to step back and say to society, consider individually where you are before you act, especially on social media. Don't write off, don't shoot your mouth off before you've had a time to sit back and think, A, who's that going to hurt? Is it hatred that I am publishing? I think that sums up what you said there.
Well, it does, and absolutely 100% behind your thinking, except for one crack in that armor, which is very simply just take a look at Facebook, just take a look at Instagram, just take a look at Twitter. The voice of the people, the voice that was given to the people many years ago now, was abused by people who, A, this is the main point, A, don't understand what their racist hatred, their anarchy creates, what fear that creates. We still have people saying don't have vaccines. Now, should those people, the people with an intelligent opinion, but when they just couch their opinion in two words of opinion and the rest of 4-letter words and abuse and things, no, they shouldn't be allowed to consider what they are doing because they won't consider it. There have to be barriers. There has to be something that stops the people being allowed to incite hatred. Everything that we're saying is about inciting hatred, violence, and disrespect. Let's look at the word respect. Why were people allowed to disrespect each other in such a way that you could be driven to your death? Don't forget about America not that long ago, where black people, for no other reason other than the fact that they were black, were hanged from trees by men and women in pointy white hats. Oh, well, we had to think about before we hanged him. We looked for a reason to do it, and we thought, is it fair to do it? Yeah, we decided it was. So, yeah, no, that's fine, as long as you had to think about it before you did it. Yeah, no, it's a crime. It's a crime. And the crimes, the world's laws are built to protect you and I and everybody else.
Right, another bit of anecdote. We'll move on to another subject, our favourite subject.
No!
Unfortunately, is back to COVID because it's coming out that people again are not obeying the law and they're going their own way. As an example, and Portugal has been quite good at this, but there again, there are hotspots here that for a few days last week, we were the top of the world with our figures suddenly, mainly in Porto, which is the second city in Portugal, and Lisbon. Big spikes because people were going out and being selfish and enjoying themselves at Granny's expense because she's the innocent that will be killed. I'm using emotive words, but I'm sorry, I'm not going to withdraw from that. It is true. Look after your grannies. And we've got the point here that I was witnessing outside the supermarket yesterday, a group of about 5 or 6 ladies and a gentleman there talking. All the ladies had their masks on. He was smoking. So down came the mask and all the smoke was coming out over all the ladies. 2 points here. One, social distancing is important. Maybe 3 meters even, because that smoke was going way beyond 3 meters. And you can get infected that way. But there are a certain group of people, however much you get television programs, documentaries, reality, truth through the news about how dangerous this thing is, they don't give two monkeys. They will never change their mind. They'll always carry on being that way. And it only needs a small quantity, a small percentage to infect a whole nation. So what do we do about these idiots? Well, let me tell you what Germany's done. Germany, and would it ever happen in Britain, has said, you disobey the law that way, we'll fine you heavily on the spot. And if you do it twice, you're going to jail.
Yeah.
It's an open prison, if you wish, a camp, call it whatever you like, but they bung them in there, Leigh. Is that a good idea?
Absolutely, it is. I couldn't agree with you more. I think that's, you see, over here, there is a bit of a dichotomy here. For instance, you can go food shopping. Well, I'll have a word with you about this after. You can go food shopping, so the supermarkets are open, but you can't buy a battery in the supermarket. You can only buy food stuff. Why? Why can't you buy a battery? You can't buy a sink plug. We need a coil of electrical cable at the moment, an extension cable. We can't buy one. But you can buy cigarettes. Tobacconists are open. Yeah. And you're allowed to buy cigarettes. Well, that is stupid because, like you say, a lot of Slovaks are smokers. Therefore, many Slovaks are walking around quite legitimately with their masks down below the chins, having a fag. Which, yeah, that's fine. That's their inalienable right to have a fag. But it does put people like me at risk because they're walking past it. And also, the other thing is, don't forget, cigarettes make you cough. So you have a cigarette and you walk down the street going like that, and then put your mask up. Oh, the cops gone right round and got everybody. So it is a bit of a craziness. The disrespect towards the laws of COVID are myriad, particularly in Britain. Not in Slovakia. I don't think it's so bad in Spain. Except within, now it is got to be an incendiary remark, except within many parts of the expat community, which are built up with Brits. Now, Brits, for some reason, think we're above the law of any kind of law, the race laws, the freedom of speech laws, the COVID laws, the driving laws, the drinking driving. We just don't think laws apply to us because we're Brits. Well, in Britain, when you think we're a small country, yet our percentage of COVID problems has outstripped America, percentage-wise, going back to your percentages, it's outstripped every other country, as far as I'm aware. And if people break those laws and, like we were talking about incitement, and incite a situation where they are putting other people, innocent people at risk, then fine them if you've got to, put them in jail. They're despicable as far as I'm concerned. Might be one day prove that the masks were a waste of time. Might be one day prove that coronavirus doesn't exist. But at the moment, it does exist and we have to wear masks. So you break that law and you are putting other people at risk. Get lost.
Yes, and talking about despicable, we must mention your big mate, Mr. Trump. We always mention Mr. Trump. And he's gone
today.
Yes, to disappoint you, I'm sorry. He's gone to the south of Florida. He's decided, allegedly, on two things. First of all, he's not going to keep quiet. In fact, he's going to open his own party called the Patriot Party, PP. Partido Popular in Spanish, but there we go. It's his own party from there, the PP party.
And his own newspaper.
That's the important thing, Leigh. He's going to produce not only a newspaper, he's probably going to go into television, it is rumoured, and take over from maybe Fox News, who seriously let him down, especially at the end. Now, I would think that
everything that he had a right to do.
Yeah, absolutely. I would think from his point of view, what an excellent idea. Because as all the press, the major press and newspapers, television in the States are certainly left-wing. You disagree with that, but I will disagree with you on that. The States needs a further right wing. I think he's going to make a fortune. In fact, he may make that much money. He may not decide to come back after 4 years.
Well, that'd be a blessing. Why don't we find another way of paying him off? Or they're taking him off his plane. They're not allowing him to have his plane, are they? Oh, nobody will play golf with him. Oh, and all his business colleagues are saying they don't like him. Oh, and all the banks don't like him. Oh, poor old Donald. Even his lawyer doesn't like him anymore. That lovely, honest, perfectly charming, witty, black-haired, handsome man, Giuliano, he doesn't like him anymore.
Leigh, you're talking about half of America. Don't forget
America
voted for him. Yeah, they voted for him. Come on, we believe in democracy.
It wasn't half. It wasn't half, but it was quite something.
Listen, it was 1%. If it wasn't even allowing for the facts of the alleged cheating, it's still half. You're not just throwing half of America out.
It isn't really half at all. It just isn't, because we have a hung parliament, or the equivalent to hung parliament. I don't know what you do over there. What do you hang in America if it's 50-50? Other people, his neighbours don't like him. They don't want him to come home. Nobody seems to like him at the moment, and he's such a charming, witty, handsome, blue-eyed, blonde-haired chap. It's shocking, isn't it? It's shocking.
Well, it is, especially when he comes over to the United Kingdom and they put this silly balloon up. Now that silly balloon, they've already made a fortune out of it, and in fact, it's going in to a new museum in London.
I told you this last week.
Yes. And better news than that, it's going to be accompanied by another balloon which depicts Sadiq Khan in a bikini. Now, I like that, and you will like it, because
only in an esoteric way, of course. Yes.
Well, yes, Sadiq Khan is in real trouble, because not only has he destroyed half of London transport system, he now wants more cycle lanes, more shutting of roads, as if there wasn't enough problems with traffic in central London. And there are 5 boroughs that are really coming out against him. In fact, they've won a court case against him already. You're just going to shut our boroughs if you carry on with these stupid and crazy cycle lanes. Like originally the M4, when it comes into London, goes narrower and narrower and causes more jams, because nobody, of course, is in one lane, because it's sacred for the buses. This is people doing things without thought. Have they ever run a company? No, at least the Donald has run companies.
Into the ground and gone bankrupt, and owes more money than he's got. Yeah, right, yeah, he is. You have to look at it very simply, very straightforwardly again. Think of the word psychopath, yeah, and how close that is to psychopath. And the attitude towards these things is quite madness. You know, you drive a big car, I drive a big car. We brag about our cars all the time, and mine's a limousine, yours a limousine, and they want us not to. And how much it costs you to get into London in a limo now? 20 quid, 25 quid, 30 quid, and it's absolute madness. And yet to put psychopaths on the psychopaths of Britain so they can go to work in a place where there's no offices anymore does seem to be quite psychologically, psychopathically ridiculous.
Yes, right. We can't keep going a green like this. We will finish on hate speech. Call it what you will. Time has fled, Leigh. And I've been known to say once or twice that there is a big difference between the right and the left and how they tackle things. I still maintain that. I am disappointed, although I know one reason for it, in the way that Trump is being impeached again. The word hate does come back. You think of Nancy Pelosi's reaction in the Senate of tearing up various pieces of paper. That was hate, not speech, but action. Now they're determined to get him. Of course, they're frightened he might come back in 4 years. But way beyond that is the hate. It is hate because you can see it in people's eyes when they're sort of having a go. And the most recent thing, of course, back to Facebook, is that honey traps are being laid for the people who got into Capitol Hill. And the young ladies are chatting them up on Facebook and getting admissions that way. Very cunning. Whether that's regarded as true hate, I don't. But other things are truly hateful, the way Trump or any of his supporters are being attacked. They've won. I mean, if you're playing a tennis match, Leigh, and you'll beat your opponent, you go up to the net and shake his hands or her hand, and you're all mates. And that's what it should be. Donald, you've lost. Let's get on. But they're not. The victors are being most hateful in many, many cases. They're driving more nails into the coffin. Let go. Stop impeaching.
Based on the point you're making, would you say then that it wasn't Donald's fault that he refused to go to the inauguration, wouldn't mention Biden by name, and wouldn't shake his hand? Was it just because he was frightened, a little child frightened by all these naughty boys shouting at him? Or was it in fact him who caused that situation? The other point I'd like to make on that, and I think it's a very valid point, is impeachment a straightforward legal investigation? I say yes, it is. And if there is doubt within this world about certain things, the thing we have to do, I have 2 cases at the moment going on which need to go to judicial investigation, is to find out what the truth is and what the legality is and what the balance of truth, more in these cases, is. What is the balance of truth? And all that's happening, it's not hatred. It's not hatred to say, let's investigate what's gone on and find the truth, because they might find in Donald's favour. Then that stops being hatred. If they find against him, many people say, well, that's hatred. It isn't. Maybe that Donald was wrong. Perhaps. I'm not saying he was. I'm not making an attack on Donald because he's very sensitive. And but what if he is proved to be wrong? Then everybody will say, that's that court, that was twisted. That's like the election. No, maybe he just didn't get it right.
Well, possibly. Make love, not war. Talk, jaw, not war. That's. Yeah. We've got to go, Leigh.
All right.
Go on.
One last statement. Look at my hands, right? And this is going back to what you were saying. I had a friend, right, who had LOVE on that hand and HATE on that hand. Unfortunately, he lost that finger. So his hands actually said love and hat.
I was going to ask you before that, which hand did he hit you with? But I won't. We'll see you next week.
All right, then.